In honor of the upcoming holiday of Shavuos, I'd like to learn an explanation of a difficulty in the Rambam. The explanation from Mori Rabbi, my teacher and mentor, Rav Aaron Soloveitchik, Zichron Livracha. So the Rambam in the halachos of Talmud Torah, of learning Torah, the first chapter and the eighth halacha says as follows: Kol ish miYisrael, every individual Jew, Jewish man, chayav b'Talmud Torah, is obligated to study Torah. Bein ani, bein ashir, bein sholem begufo, bein bal yisurin, whether he's poor, whether he's rich, whether he is physically intact or subject to suffering and maladies. Bein bachur, whether he is a young man, bein shahoya zoken gadol shetoshash kocho, or whether he's an extremely old man whose strength has waned. Afilu haya ani hamisparnes min tzedakah, even if he was a poor person who is supported from funds of charity. Umechazer al psachim, and he goes door to door for handouts. Vafilu bal ishu banim, and even if he has familial obligations, he's married, he has children, chayav likvoa lo zman letalmud Torah, he's obligated to set times for the study of Torah, bayom uvalayla, during the day and at night. Shenamar, as it says, v'hagisa bo yomam v'layla, you should dwell on it or contemplate it day and night. It's a verse from Yehoshua. So Rav Aaron asks the following questions. First of all, he says that this is the only halacha in which the Rambam says the requirement that you have to fulfill it even mitoch oni o yisurin, even from if one is afflicted by poverty or by suffering, you still have to learn Torah. So there is no other mitzvah that the Rambam mentions this as a standard. Now the Gemara deduces the obligation to learn from poverty from the story about Hillel HaZaken, who took extraordinary steps to study Torah, even though he couldn't afford the tuition. The Gemara discusses this, and this is the source for the Rambam. So Rav Aaron asks the question, why is Talmud Torah different? In other mitzvahs, we know that there's a limitation on the effort, the setback, the suffering that a person has to endure in order to perform the mitzvah. Person's not allowed, for example, to spend more than a fifth of his assets on the performing of a mitzvah. So, and we don't see this standard of you have to perform the mitzvah even if you're in tremendous pain or if you're very poor. So why the difference? There's an additional problem, which is the halacha is if there's a mitzvah that cannot be performed by anyone else, and you have the opportunity to learn Torah, you have to not learn Torah and perform that mitzvah. So, although we consider Torah to be of extreme importance, and in certain circumstances of supreme importance, but not always. So what is it about Torah that makes it different, that makes somebody who is either very destitute or someone who is suffering some other malady required to persist, to try to concentrate and to focus when that can be very difficult? What is it about the learning of Torah that requires this extraordinary effort? And Rav Aaron says that it's not the same as spending money. It's not the same as using assets. It's not as though one is suffering or giving something up by studying Torah from extreme poverty or from suffering. On the contrary, the study of Torah can make the extreme poverty and the suffering tolerable. It can not only distract, but it can give meaning to one's life and can redeem the life that otherwise is very difficult to lead. As the verse in Tehillim says, Lulei sorascha shashuai az avaditi bani. If it weren't for the delight of your Torah, I would be lost in my oppression and my suffering. Shlomo Carlebach has a famous song to that. Lulei sorascha shashuai az avadati be'ani. Lulei sarascha shashuai az avadati be'ani. Lulei sarascha shashuai az avadati be'ani. Personally, I recall in my youth in Detroit, my father sitting in a chair and listening to this song, and he would cry. Not sob, but I could see that he was very emotional about it. And Rav Aaron himself told me he suffered tremendously. He had a stroke in 1983 that left him partially paralyzed and with searing pain in parts of his body. And he told me that the only time that he felt relief is when he was teaching Torah. So Rav Aaron was a firm believer in the palliative value of Torah, besides all the other values of learning Torah. But it can redeem us not only from the mundane, but from the painful. And it can elevate us. It can elevate our spirits. It can elevate our souls. It can ennoble our character. And this is the upcoming anniversary of our acceptance of the Torah. And whether we stay up all night learning or do so in our ordinary waking hours, but it's a good opportunity to reconnect to the Torah, to find that part of the Torah that animates us and invigorates and just gives us a new chiyus. And this is the quality of the Torah. And this is a good way to celebrate Matan Torah, which is to learn Torah and to allow it to elevate our souls and our spirits. Have a Chag Sameach, a happy Shavuos.